When I go to the store and I want to buy some sauerkraut, whether it's made from beet, cabbage, whether it's a kimchi, it's around $15 for a very small jar. But I can buy a cabbage, and by the way, you do not need to buy organic, because those little microbes that we create when we do the massage of this beautiful cabbage and then ferment it, actually they've done tests and shown that those chemicals disappear. So if you can't afford an organic cabbage, then just get yourself a plain cabbage, and what you do is you cut it very finely. Then you add salt, and I always add a good quality salt. And this salt is the natural seaweed salt, so it's got some seaweed in it as well as Himalayan salt. And I add about a teaspoon, and I just shake it in there. Actually, sometimes I like to add a little bit more. So I'm a bit of a thrower, and I kind of look at it and I go, oh, it needs a little bit more salt. So let's just say for a quarter of a cabbage, you use 1 teaspoon of salt. That will help. And then what you do is you massage. It's great exercise for the hands. And after a while, your hands do get sore. But you just keep massaging it. And what you're going to do is that you are going to create a juice. And that juice is really important in the fermentation process. And what I find even more interesting is that even though I washed my hands, there's still microbes on my hands. And these microbes are all part of that fermentation. And if you want to add a little bit more fermentation, then you can add the probiotics that we added to the coconut kefir and the coconut cream. Already, I am getting juice in this cabbage. You'll see it starting to produce, but you've got to get it really so when you squeeze it, you've got an excess of water coming out. Doesn't take too long. And you know what? I don't often make a lot, because I make this and a week later I can eat it, so I just have to keep 1 week ahead. And remember, this is just a quarter of a cabbage that I'm using. And by the way, you'll see that I've left these leaves here. There's a very good reason why I've left them there. Can you see the juices coming now? Maybe we could get closer with the camera. These juices are beginning to start already. You can see it's coming to fruition now. I will still want to go for another couple more minutes. But like I said, this is 1/4 of a cabbage. It's really quick and easy to do. Can you see that squeezing, that I'm getting all those beautiful juices that are all coming in? You want to know, how else somebody figured this out and organised it. And I know cabbages were something in Europe that were grown a lot, but I wonder who made this up. But you know what it is? It's culture and tradition. And cultures and tradition have taught us so much. We've just left them go out the window. And when you buy sauerkraut or kimchi or some other fermented product, they usually have to stop the fermentation process. And sometimes that could be a chemical. Sometimes they may have to heat it. Whereas when you make your own, there's no heating, there's no chemicals. It's just cabbage, salt, and your beautiful hands. I think we have enough juices now, because the whole idea of the juice is that I have to make sure all the cabbage is under the juice. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of dill. Oops, that's a little bit more than a little. I've actually added a few more herbs in here. So we'll add a little bit of that to it, but you can add anything you want. And remember, it's not just cabbage you can use. There are lots of other things that we can ferment as well. You can make beet kvass, just look up a recipe, use the probiotics. Now I'm going to add just a little bit of the probiotic. I don't have to, but for extra microbes, it might be quite nice. Because the best way for you to get your probiotics is in food. All right, I reckon that's pretty good. Let me just wash my hands. And then we'll add it into the jar. And I'm going to make sure all that juice goes in as well. It's not just the cabbage, but the juice. So this is around, or I would say, a 500 ml jar that I'm putting in here. The juice will go in, all of it, and all the beautiful herbs, the salt, the probiotics are all in there. Now, if I squash that down, you will see that I have lots of juice coming through. Like you can see the juice coming through. But I need to make sure every piece of that is underwater. So what I've done is I've held the outer leaves of the cabbage, and and you can use a weight as well. Some people have clay pot weights, and I just make sure that all that cabbage is under the water. It doesn't matter about the big leaves, they'll be thrown out, but everything else you'll see is under the liquid. Put a lid on, done. Goes on the fermenting shelf for 7 days. It's on the fermenting shelf. And that's how you make sauerkraut. So instead of paying $15 for a jar that size, you may have just paid maybe $2.50.